Everybody stand. Say the pledge. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you all for being here. Mr. Helsley let me know that he will not be here. Mr. Zuber said that he would be a little late. He was running grandkids. So God bless him, I'm jealous. I wish I had that as an excuse. Okay, public comment? Okay,
Gary, nothing?
hearing none?
Well, I'll talk to you afterwards if I have questions.
That's illegal.
No, it's not.
Oh, okay.
If we collectively give him an answer.
That's right, yeah.
All right. Well, what do you think? Andy, you got anything for us this morning?
They got the heating, air conditioning system in and probation. And it's all in. I'm waiting, Mark Sullivan's gotta come back. He's on vacation in Colorado. And he gets back, he'll put the ceiling in.
What'd you decide to do on the height and with hiding some of the stuff?
At this point, what they've done is they've stubbed it in. We can put it where we want at this point. I'd like to go up with it, but Mark's not around, so I really want to discuss with him. I got some options. There's some electrical wiring. You saw it.
Right.
So I've got a guy that has the wood shop that maybe make something decorative to put along there to cover that. But I want to discuss it with Mark and see what he thinks. So.
Does everybody know what we're talking about?
Just getting it back to kind of old grandeur
I'd really like to put the ceiling, I mean, you gotta put the ceiling back in. I'd like to put it up above where you can see all the windows.
It is a grand room.
Might
is a grand.
run up there, because the way somebody talked the other day, Bob was getting ready to start putting that ceiling back in.
Okay, I better get up. No one has instructed Bob to do anything like that. Bob kinda does that stuff, but I will talk to him quick.
I heard that over the weekend, somebody, maybe it was Finney, said Bob said he was gonna get that ceiling back in. Was Donna, seen him
Okay.
somewhere.
Jeez, he could be doing that right now.
Well, listen, they're all standing down in the basement area. They were talking this morning, so you know, just FYI.
Let's wrap this up.
Well, depends on how long
I know,
the report is.
I'm done.
Your excuse.
I know how Bob does sometimes.
Well, and then he gets ticked, and then it's, you know, because nobody communicates. He doesn't communicate back, and it's just, well, at any rate. Dan?
I left a voicemail with Andy, who Doug Cochran said there was somebody interested in the Creighton building. So I don't know what you want to do about it. I told him I'd get to the board and see if they wanted to have Doug take the guy out and look through it. He wouldn't give me the name of the person, so I don't know what's your thought on it. So.
Well, I'm not sure Doug's the one to show it to him, is he?
No, Doug wants probably the income off of it, so
He's a licensed realtor?
no, he's what is he, a engineer, sort of.
So he wants to get it sold so he can do the work to make money.
Yeah, that's it.
No, we need to have probably Alan, you need to let Alan know. Go
He
ahead.
needs to contact the committee.
Right.
I mean,
He's on the committee.
we certainly may be interested.
Yeah.
I'm open to
Right.
anything.
I think we're
anyone
open.
Yeah,
But-
to let him, have him contact you guys and talk about it.
Right.
I told him
I
I'd
mean,
do that.
you left a message for me, but my daughter's in town this week.
You guys will get together and make the
Yeah.
I'm not on the committee.
I understand, but
Yeah.
you need to let the right, okay.
So
Now we know
what,
about it. Nobody's saying no, okay?
Absolutely not.
Right.
But we'll,
At this point.
So what did I tell Doug, just.
I'll get
Okay.
with him this afternoon. Sunday, yesterday was,
Yeah, he wants income, he wasn't giving me a name.
Well, that's from the people that would be buying it, not from us.
Right.
Okay. There's a couple that are interested.
Yeah.
Okay.
About the part of the meeting last week, Janet says there's a dentist that's interested, so I think probably get her, so.
Are we without that one dentist
Well,
right
he's
now?
down part-time now, so I think he's probably done in July, this month sometime, so.
I wondered, because I knew we were getting close.
Yeah, so I think she's just out of our dental school, so
So is Jason kind of helping ramrod that a little
Right,
bit?
and he's gonna come and work, they're trying to set up a second or a second place where he can work, and he'll come in maybe one day a week or something. up
Oh,
there,
that's
so.
just
So-
to fill the gap till we
Right,
get it.
right, so it's working out pretty good. So.
Okay.
The heating cooling system's working well. The door is great, they appreciate that, so. The other thing was the bill from the lawyer or
Yeah,
something.
tell her to send us the bill.
Okay.
Send it to Terry. Okay?
Animal shelter's fine, they do have some gates that need to be moved, and I said something to Bob, but he kind of brushed me off, so. They're in the way, he's complaining because he couldn't get around the gates to mow, but Andrew said he could pick them up and move them, so I don't know. So,
Well,
yeah, I don't know. I guess I could move them.
No. That's,
What? Do they need to be gotten out of there? Or just,
I don't know, I think they're in his way where he can't, yes, mow around them.
Are they laying down?
I think they are, yeah.
Is he the one that needs to fix them?
Yes.
Well, that's a message right there.
Yeah.
Fix them, put them back in, now you can mow.
well, you need to address that with the sheriff,
I
because
know.
the sheriff's his boss.
Well, I said something to Bob about fixing the cages, because they have sharp points on cutting the dogs.
Right.
But he didn't say much. I told Andrew, just hire somebody to come in and do it.
we shouldn't have to do that. That's why, you know, $1 here and $1
Is that
there.
repair work, or is it like welding type repair, or?
I'm not sure. She
No.
said, no, it's just the things are bent up at the bottom, right, Carl?
It's just a matter of bending them
Bending
back
back
and
and-
tying them
Oh,
back.
that chain link where they
Right,
move
chain
them,
link,
when
right,
they come down, okay.
Plier job.
right. And then the water faucet, I called Jason Gore last week, said, Jason, you owe me a favor. He went out the next day and fixed it.
Good. Glad you got those taken care of,
Yeah,
because
that's
there's
good.
things that need to be done.
Right.
I'm glad you got it done.
So,
Not to put you on the spot, Jeff, but will you communicate with Bob about that fence?
You know, I'll act like we're gonna get somebody to do it, then you'll go do
okay.
However you handle it. I mean, we need, when we have physical things
Right.
that need, really, we need to go through
Well,
the
it's
sheriff
no
rather
big,
than.
it's no big deal. I mean, it's not a major job. Even the faucet wasn't a major job, according to Jason. He got it done, so. So everything you talked about, I've checked. Basically, taken care of.
Thank you.
But I mean, I guess that's why we have Bob. You know, that's why we hired another person to do cleaning up the courthouse, so he could do all these repair
Yeah.
jobs that are different places, and that's his responsibility, so that's
There needs to be coordination, because we don't know what else
Right.
the sheriff is asking to do.
right.
Well, I couldn't always find him either. I just happened to run into him in the basement last week and said something to him.
Too many bosses sometimes.
I'm not a boss.
I know.
Sheriff's his boss.
Yeah.
But like that, I don't know, unless they contact me and say, hey, this
Right,
happens or don't happen.
right, you know,
I
so,
know, I reckon we need to maybe print out some worksheets or something, give to everybody, and if they got a job they need
Works
done.
again to him. That's what you do at the hospital, except
Work
it takes
orders.
6 months to get to work.
Oh, yeah.
That's a concept.
Basically, work order, yeah.
Yeah, worksheets taken everywhere.
Sticky notes.
Don't always, yeah, they
I was
always
watching a
work.
thing where they put the notes right on him.
Staple gun?
Yeah,
And this is the priority.
yeah, they don't always, worksheets don't always work very well.
Who needs a worksheet when you got a wife?
That's right.
That's
Don't
a
write that
whole
down, Gary.
other subject. Okay? You're out of order.
you're on camera already.
They can't see
Debbie!
me. They can't see me.
I'm not on this committee, but Zuber will show up this morning.
He's supposed
I
to.
don't know if you printed off the thing on Blue Cross or.
Yeah, we'll
Okay.
see where we're at. Remember, we have an, if he's not
Okay.
here, we'll get it. Carl, what do you got?
we met with the deputies union last week and talked about overtime issues and, the health insurance. I think things went pretty well. You know, we had a good discussion back and forth. And let them know where we were at and everything, and we agreed to continue the 10-hour shift and, splitting the overtime 50-50 through the end of the budget year, and then we'll take a look at it at the end of the budget year and see what we do for the future, the last year of the contract. Also, we've got a meeting, in a couple of weeks on health sometime the first week of August, I don't remember the exact
It's the
date.
ninth,
It's
Be next week.
Tuesday.
Tuesday the
Oh, the
9th.
9th? Okay.
Yep.
Anyway, to talk about health insurance, because when we had our discussions the other day, we didn't know for sure where we were gonna be on health insurance, you know, with the new rates and the new policy and everything, so.
They had some interesting suggestions, which,
Very good.
okay, I mean, they're
Right.
in there, and we asked them, you know, and they talked about the budget, and we referred them to the sheriff as he was building his budget, so I thought, like Carl, that it all went very
Yeah.
well.
Yeah, we had good open communication, you know, I think that's the key.
I think that's the key, because those guys, I think, before it's an us against them mentality, whereas now you just, hey, this is what's going on. No, I didn't know that.
The first meeting or two last year, or early, whatever it was, were a little rough,
Yes, they were.
so it's, anything else, Carl?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, Derek?
I don't know if Rob was involved in the coup in Turkey. I know he was over there. I don't know if he's in jail.
Probably was.
We need to find out if he is, you know, either A, in a Turkish prison, or B, back in the States. But
Jeez.
I just know.
Better not put that in the paper.
Strike that. Redact that.
Sitting powder issues back in the state.
Okay. I thought maybe he was
Don't
out
pay the
of
ransom.
leading the coup.
Well, if it wasn't even in the background.
That's right. That's right. So.
Now we're gonna hear about this.
So, just curious, I need to call and reach back to Jake and Rob and see where their status are, if they're gonna be able to make their 8th deadline and get us that initial report. But other than that, I think that's all I got.
Well, thank you.
See?
It was certainly entertaining.
International events in our small county, we just all tied in.
Jeff, do you have anything, sir?
I don't think I have nothing now, I can't talk about
Yeah.
Hockey,
No, I don't have anything new to
Okay.
report.
can you bring us, are we in fact having a referendum this fall, which will include a 1%?
According to the newspaper, we are.
Well, I didn't know,
Yeah.
have they filed anything with you?
Not with me yet. No, they,
Oh, that's
no.
what I wanted, I mean, so you have no direct
No.
knowledge of anything going on?
nothing's been filed with me yet.
Okay, that's, I thought, because I get asked, you know, what the status is, and that gives us a status that we don't know anything about it because it hasn't been filed in the clerk's office yet. Okay, is that correct?
That's correct.
All right.
Obviously, it's apparent that they've met the
Threshold.
numbers, the threshold, so as soon as it gets certified to me, then it'll go on the ballot, and I will let you know as soon as that happens.
They're charging ahead with that intersection down there at the high school. I mean, they've got it all dug out. One of the lanes is closed, and they've excavated almost, looks like 100% of the dirt out of that intersection, so, well, at least the part to the west, so it's moving along very well. Of course, they're talking about having that open in, I think, October, so,
It's gonna be kind of a mess for a while.
right. But, I mean, at least it's going forward,
Yeah.
given the budget agreements and everything else, so. As far as the budget, we did get a tax check for $504,636. So Don will give you a more up-to-date on how we're doing, but at the last meeting, we were at 900 and negative 900, and this knocks it down to 400, which is the best we've been for a long time. He also noted that even if we hadn't got the money, we wouldn't have had to borrow for well into August if we got nothing else. So slowly but surely, we're digging ourselves out of the hole, Carl, that you and I found ourselves in 6 years ago. So anyway, for the first time, and I'll get one of these out to you later, for the first time, revenues are exceeding expenditures, and that's been a long, long time. But at any rate, we're doing well. The budget process has started, and we'll be getting the documents from every department head and elected official towards the end of August, and then that process will start. Okay, so that's where we're on with that. Yes, sir.
Janet, I just happened to think, she said, for me to remind you, she may be a little late. I'm getting the budget. I don't know how
She
late.
always is.
Okay, well, I just thought I'd let you know.
It's kind of like, this is off the record, when my wife wants to be somewhere, she says, what time do we have to leave?
And she's
I always tell her a
late.
half an
Yeah,
hour
yeah,
earlier
yeah.
than what, yeah, so it always works out well.
My wife is never late for bridge. So, she's always on time.
But my wife has figured that out now. She goes, you did this on, yeah, really, after 32 years, you figured that out?
Yep.
Can't leave the time you're supposed to be there and be on time.
Yes, Paul.
I might mention one thing, a couple things about the airport. I think the crop dusting's been going on for like 3 weeks. And I've been out there 3, if not 4 times, and every time I've been out there, there's at least been 2 planes flying. I think one time there was 3, but there's always at least 2. And this last Thursday or Friday, I was out there, and there was a couple of them, and then there was a big jet had come in from Virginia, brought 5 or 6 people in, and they were going to one of the plants here in the county. So
You were there when they came in?
I got there right after they came in. I talked to the pilot and the co-pilot. The people had already left and it went to the business that they were at. And there was another guy that stopped from going from Nebraska to Virginia, or West Virginia. He'd stopped and he went with the pilots to get something to eat here in town. And then he was going to come back and fuel up and continue on to West Virginia. Talked to him for a few minutes.
Any issues you saw with ramp space and traffic flow with all that? I mean, that's as busy as we probably ever get.
No, I've got one.
The big plane, he was getting fueled up when I got there, and Tom had him move because he would have kind of been in the way. So he had to move him on down to the south end of the place. And the little plane from Nebraska was sitting in the middle, and the other planes were kind of going around him. I mean, it worked, but,
Right. It'd be nice to have more ramp space.
right, yeah.
A week ago Friday, there were 5 cropped up
Was
blizzards,
it?
2
Really?
biplanes, and I mean, it was
Right,
tough.
They bring in their own gas, like.
A lot of them do, yes.
right,
And
yeah.
our parlor fees are all caught up except for, I can't think of the one.
Guy down in Clark County,
Yes,
yeah.
15, you're talking about, or you're talking about this year's?
15. He
Right.
still owes us for 15.
Right.
Is he,
And Tom and Terry didn't communicate correct. Tom, we billed, but she had not billed him, so that's not caught up,
okay.
Right.
okay?
Now, are they out there?
Yeah,
Yeah, he's flying now,
and we've got a new one out there also,
Right.
down from Zumwalt.
yeah.
Yep, so Tom is keeping excellent track of it
Right.
all. He's got a
Right.
clipboard and when they're
Right.
there, when they're not there. Well, no, that's,
He brought in this new device called a clipboard. Keeping things tight at the airport.
that was
Gold
right
star
after,
for Tom.
we go to clipboard, then we go to work order. I mean, we're really stepping up here.
I forget to work over, they don't work at the hospital, so. they're hanging
So I guess,
everywhere.
so you saw when they had the 5 planes, was there
Yeah.
issues of
Oh,
that
yeah.
one
I mean,
taxiway having to
Well, a
wait?
couple of them had to, yeah, there was just not a room.
Right.
There's not room for 5 crop
Well, that
dusters.
was 2 years ago when I was out there, when it was really busy that year. It was a zoo.
Because guys have to wait, as soon as you got that one taxiway, it's only unidirectional, so that's the big one.
The nice thing about it is, we've got pilots out there, all of them seem to be, safety, and I mean, they work together. I mean, they're not being, it's not like traffic on the expressway. I mean,
Yeah.
they're,
Well, and that's tricky with that many aircraft in an uncontrolled airfield. That's, I mean, that's all on the pilots to
One
get
gas
that figured out, so that's good.
well, they looked like, what my point was that I think they had it figured out, but you could see where, one of them, or a couple of them were up by the T hangars. They had to wait, and then they moved in as people moved, I mean, but they figured it out. So,
And then the one day I was there was a guy from, it was Watsika, or, this was a guy that hadn't been there before, and he has a grass strip, and it had rained a lot, and the day before, they hit a mud spot and the thing nosed over and tore the plane up, so they came down here, because they couldn't fly out of their airport. And he came down here for a day or two to fly out of here. I don't know how far north he was having to go back, you know, flying back and forth, but, you know, he came here to utilize our airport.
Mhm.
Tank maintenance is scheduled for the first of the month, and then the painting after that, there's no sense in painting until the tank maintenance is done.
Done with the interior, the clean out.
Yeah, and then we still, it looked like we're still missing some concrete barriers.
We still need a vehicle to pick those up. That's what the issue is?
I'm not sure what the issue is.
According to Tom, Chris would sell him the barriers, but he wouldn't deliver them or something like
Right.
that, so.
I know Tom was gonna talk to Aaron to see if Aaron could, with one of their trucks, bring it up there, so I don't know what they worked out.
Okay, well, that's good.
Yeah.
At any rate, those are things hanging fire.
Right.
Those are good things.
Speaking of Aaron, I guess that's something we need to talk about the drive and the parking lot.
Yes.
Do you have any more information on
No,
that?
but we need to talk about that. And I didn't have a chance to talk to
We talked
Carl.
about that,
We
right?
talked, he has a open contract where he went out and measured the parking lot, do you know about this, Carl? Anyway, the entrance
Just
road.
briefly.
Okay, and it was gonna be like $29,000 to do the whole thing. Or a lesser amount if we didn't want to do all of it. But he would do part and parcel or all of that, and they're available to do it. So you guys need to take a look at that and see what you wanna do.
Is that with that same company that's coming to do something here on Springfield Road?
Yes. And to do, I think, behind Donnie's and all that other stuff.
Talking about that, I was up there one day when he was looking with Don on the parking lot behind the treasurer's office. Your parking lot needs some attention too, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's getting.
Yeah, there's lots of holes where there's loose gravel, and I know last year one of the employees told me that she tripped coming in the parking lot. I don't know whether it was when snow was on, but basically it was where one of them places where there was kind of a hole and there was an edge and she tripped and fell.
Mostly up around, right closer to the building there's.
Right. So that's something maybe we can take a look at too, because it needs attention like behind the treasurer's office and from,
As far as the airport, whatever you do, you know, we had budgeted into that one fund to be able to pay off tax warrants and so forth.
Right.
And we're obviously not gonna spend that this year. So that money would be available for improvements at the airport,
Mhm.
because we'll have it again next year. So, you
I think money's there, that should be a no-brainer, because that's a constant, we get a lot of barking about that, and so,
Right.
and I think it would
Even
look
if-
nice to get it all put together the right way.
Now, part of the parking, I went out there after I talked to you and looked, was it the west half is not too bad, the east, I mean, I don't know, you guys look at it, I mean, some of those, that access road to and from the parking lot to the T-hanger is miserable. And of course, the main road could do, but remember what our engineers said was, you know, if we have to move something, or, you know, are we gonna keep the parking lot where it's at? Are we gonna do any changes there? Probably.
There's nothing, as far as I can think of, there's nothing on any of our plans projected that aren't involving Mills and his proposed thing that's not gonna happen,
Right.
that affects that parking lot and how it's laid out.
I didn't think so, but I'm asking the question because I forget things. That would be the only consideration, is to make sure we didn't pull a state and resurface something and have to dig it up.
Yeah, I think that's the case. I'm all for that project, and if we can get it all done in one shot, I can't imagine the cost would be that much different from doing part and parcel, just do the whole thing in one shot and have it all in the same spot.
That's
And then once we get past some of these preliminary stages, I can call Barry real quick, but I'm 90% sure there's nothing that's gonna affect that piece.
And then you might check to get the straight poop from Aaron to make sure I haven't confused anything.
What's the date on that if it goes
ASAP.
forward?
He'd like to know as soon as possible to get it scheduled.
And we have the money available to do it?
Yeah, you know, we'd have to take some out of one fund and some out of the aviation fund, but it could be done, yes.
Okay, I'll bring that to Chris to talk about. Carl, what you got any reservations on that, or thoughts different than mine?
A little bit, because, you know, if this other project goes through, you know, the tanks and everything, you know, we've gotta come up with $50,000-$60,000 for that. You know, if we start using money out of our funds, you know, 29,000, you know, we don't have
Sure.
enough money for this project, which will be next year.
I guess that
obviously,
was
at this
implicit
point.
in what I was talking about as far as money available.
Well, remember, we were gonna use the farm, just to review, the farm fund, we weren't transferring all that money to replenish what we'd spent out of the general fund. We were saving back about 20 grand out of there to pay tax warrants. We were gonna borrow the money from Edgar County or wherever, whoever had the best rate. We were gonna borrow that money and then take 3 or 4 or 5 years to pay it back out of the farm fund.
So basically separate.
But that's up to you, how you got, all of us, how we wanna do that. We were almost to the point between the aviation fund and the farm fund of not even having to borrow the money, but then you don't get anything done. So what you guys need to decide is whether we're gonna, you know, get everything done, because it's better to do it now and cheaper, or, and then borrow a little money and pay it off out of the farm fund, or what we're gonna do.
We're in a special time as far as rates go that it makes a lot of sense to me to go ahead and borrow, so.
Well, but Carl's right, we need to consider all of that together. And Carl's holding the sheet that tells you how much we have. So, between the aviation fund and all that, so. You gotta go.
Figures that when we're in a conversation like this.
40,000 in the aviation fund right now.
I was tagging out. It's like wrestling.
See ya.
See ya, take care. Okay, well, at any rate, you guys will know what's going on there. And then, I'm glad we didn't talk about insurance yet. Well,
You didn't? Oh, shucks.
Well,
No, I won't.
we
I
had some
asked if
questions.
they shut me up, so.
It's your up, buddy.
Okay. Talked with Kirk a little bit this morning. Some of you may have seen some information where Blue Cross Blue Shield, what they'll do is every year, even when we're in the middle of contract years, they'll send around some information. Those are renewal notices. If you wanted to renew on that, that's what they would go ahead and give you. And that was like 24.7% increase, something like that. That's if we just wanted to roll it over. We chose to solicit bids. Our bids are supposed to be open on August 2nd.
Yes, 10 o'clock in the
10,
morning.
I think, yeah. And so, not sure. I'm gonna talk with Bushu last week, I had a little bit of time in there. And the three groups had taken some out. Thought there was at least gonna be 2 bids, and there may be 3. They have until August the 2nd to turn in the bids. I'm just like, you know, from that standpoint. In talking to Kirk today, not only will their Diamond Brothers see what Blue Cross Blue Shield is, but there's only about 4 players in health insurance. You know, like Aetna's back in because they bought out Coventry or something like that. The Blue Cross Blue Shield, Health Alliance, and one other one. And that's about all you get bids. Hey, thanks, Carl. I wonder if you noticed that.
The way you look is dead.
You're looking, it's like, what's different about you? No, you couldn't say I lost weight, which I didn't. No, you got your half. But, so those are the 4 ones.
Wait for the guy.
Yeah, right. So those are the 4. So we're kind of in limbo. It's not a good scenario, no matter what you look at it. One other time when they did this, their renewal bid was higher than, or their renewal price was higher than their bid. So obviously, we're hoping for that. As I expressed to Kirk today, one is, that renewal is just so far out of there, whether or not even when we look at our bids, if we say, we have this option, none of these bids are acceptable, whether it be from Diamond or from anybody else we get, Jack.
Yeah, from a business standpoint, they certainly wouldn't give us their low ball
No.
before the bid.
I wouldn't think so.
Wouldn't think so, okay?
But,
But you never know.
right. But that's why I say, when those came out, it's one that people know, that would be like, that's what it is. And, I could be wrong. They may be able to figure another 3 weeks in that time frame before the bid, whenever they did that other part, and maybe we had bad claims. Well, if you remember in the past, what's hurt us is we still had some bad claims out there, so to speak. And they called bad claims at one time in excess of 10 to 15,000. Well, to me, that's like somebody goes in and gets their knee worked on, almost. So we're just in a difficult spot in health insurance right now. I don't know.
This is the last year that experience will matter though.
Well, hopefully.
Well, no, I mean, unless somebody changes something.
Right, and you know, that's why I say, you don't know until you're there. My concern, as I talked to Kirk, is that like, you know, we've tried to stabilize how much as a board we are spending on employee health insurance. That's all great and wonderful for us as a board, as a county, so to speak, not all that great and wonderful for people who are being insured, because they're gonna end up paying more out of their pocket, which is a common
Right
thing.
now, a regular employee taking the best plan, I don't wanna call it the Cadillac plan, because it's not, it's paying $193 a month.
Right. I thought we'd stabilize that, everybody was paying the same amount.
No,
Are we talking about changing the number of plans?
no, I could
We
show
talked
you
about
that,
too, didn't we?
they're not.
I thought that's what we did that last time, that's what I was counting. Okay, you would know better than I would. I
I've got
thought-
the sheet
No,
somewhere.
I believe you, but I thought that last time we said how much everybody was paying for all health insurance
That's the,
plans, so
proposal
that we would
from
know what
It's
it was.
close, but it's not,
Oh,
Yeah,
well,
that's
but,
got everything.
I'm
on.
just mean that it's,
okay,
I printed off the computer, what
right,
was on the computer.
yeah,
no, that wouldn't show you what they're, because
But it
that
No,
doesn't
no,
have
this
anything
just
to
shows
do.
what
because
each-
we
each
also,
plan's
in the
gonna
same way
cost.
that I thought we were really trying to stabilize, so we knew
Remember,
how
we're
much.
paying $456 for everybody. And then if they're paying $725 for the best plan, then you subtract the two. I'm just making that up.
No, that's what I'm saying, but I thought we were paying the same
No.
for everybody. I thought that was one of the things we drove
No,
for last
except
year.
the union people.
Well, that's a whole different story. That, our contractual people, we couldn't do anything with
Well,
that.
That's
Well, we
what
are.
employees paying.
Go ahead.
456.
Yeah.
We're paying the same.
Yeah, we're
That's what I
saying,
meant.
But I'm saying out of pocket,
That's the-
just
It's
people.
Oh, yeah, see, and I thought you meant the county.
No.
Okay, good. I'm
Yeah.
glad we all
Yeah.
talked this through, because I'm thinking like.
We are.
Because I was thinking it was around 450.
No, we're
and we were
paying-
paying.
Except for you, we're paying the
Right.
same thing for everybody.
Okay,
Then
good.
it's up to them to plan
Thank
on
you,
what.
too.
they're-
'Cause I-
That's what I said.
Yeah, I know, that's what I meant. Yeah, that's what you said, but that's not what was soaking in here.
That's
That's not what I heard, because I just want to make sure that, again, as I talked to Kirk and I talked to him about that, I said, the county is pretty well stabilized in what they are paying, but then if we're still paying about the same, that's just gonna make our
It
employees
may
have to pay
force
more.
them in, some employees, depending on what we do, into a less aggressive plan.
Correct. Everybody still has the option, and we put that was one of the things that we talked with Bushu, that they make sure that there'd be at least, one of our plans in there that we're offering is gonna be, acceptable on Affordable Care Act.
Right.
And so I think we're still safe on that, and you're right, so, that may mean employees it will mean, they're gonna have an increase in that.
What percentage of employees take the
I
insurance?
can't tell you the percentage, but it's
Roughly.
50-some,
59,
59, but that includes out here, that includes the health department, that includes everybody.
I mean, it's something that, now, my insurance on my own went up by about 300% last year.
Jeez.
The policy I had, of course, ever since this happened, the policy was canceled every year, and here's your new ones to look at. But it went up a phenomenal amount. And so what I'm saying is, I might be interested in taking it this year compared to what. So, I don't know how many other people are in the same boat that might be interested in taking it this year, which would increase what the county spends.
Well, and that's, when we get to budget time, we'll talk to you, make sure that
I don't know.
we figured those things in.
Yeah, and that's why I say all this is still
We're not gonna.
conjecture
know
right
until-
now. It's all up in the air now until August 2nd, but then you still have, us right as a board if we don't like any of those. We don't have to accept those. The options that we talked about before is that, one, go back to those people and say, you know, can you do any better than this? Two is look at a possible self-insurance program, which is a whole different scenario. There are several different companies out there, one of which is a part of our general liability, the IPMG or IMPJ or whatever. They offer a program that appears to be a workable program, but it's a risk. You know, that's where you're paying a part of that risk, but when you take $456 and maybe if you multiply that out towards 50, is it worth paying a part of that risk and assuming some, and then you're buying second tier insurance for major casualties, and then you're paying that insurance? That's way over my head.
Just takes one real bad case and then wipes you.
Not always, because what you do is you're paying for those cases. You're paying an insurance, another insurance company to
Catastrophic.
take care of those. But now that's a case, and then it's a guess, and you know,
Right.
and you're paying certain percentages in on that. You may cover 40% of that, you may cover 60. You buy into that organization, what they're doing. It's a little more complicated than just turning it over to Blue Cross or Aetna or,
And you
you
need to
know,
look
Alliance.
at your experience at that
Right.
point. You need to look at experience at that point, the age of your insurers
And those people would take you all the way through that. I mean, all those companies that I've talked to in the past that are like that, they'll take you all the way through that, so you kind of have an idea, but it's a calculated risk, just like this is a calculated risk, you know. If it comes back at 24.7%, and even like Andy's saying, well, heck, I may still take that,
I might.
because that still may be better than what I'm getting in the private sector someplace, sad to say.
It wasn't in the past, but it is now.
Yeah. Another thing talked a little bit with Derek about, comes through, on the insurance aspect, again, airport, and I kind of told him the airport committee kind of looked at that individual, we have the airport insurance
it's about
coming up.
$5,000, yeah.
You know, so I mean, if they want to bid that out and not bid that out, you know, we've always kind of let them kind of decide that part. So that's something that I'd like to get back in touch though with Bushu or something to see if we want to do that.
I think Augie's gonna talk to you about those issues.
Okay.
Okay.
All righty. Another thing is, we have commercial, of course, insurance that's due December 1. They usually try to bid that out about every 3 years. The last time we bid that out was 13-14. So, again, that's an issue we need to probably make a determination on here within a month on our commercial. You know, by commercial, that's general property, casualty, and all that other good stuff. So,
Do you know off the top of your head how much that runs a year?
the general property casualty, I have no idea off the top. I mean,
100.
145.
Yeah.
I was gonna say
That's-
150.
but it's, I'd hate,
145.
yeah, I'd hate to give you. we can
It
look
stayed
at that.
pretty good.
Yeah, and actually, that was one of them that was pretty well stabilized also.
And
Had
we
some good
increased
luck.
some values.
Mhm. Yeah, because that's when we went back and we had to look at all the different buildings, you know, so that they could bid on every specific
Maybe it's
area in the building.
154. It's around 150.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't know if that's a good answer. We need to probably look at that for sure so that you will know.
Is that up for renewal?
That's what I'm saying.
Every
We have
year.
not, we haven't bid that out totally since 1913, 14. Their recommendation usually is that you bid that out every 3 years, you know, to make sure that you're still checking the marketplace and see
And
what's out
there's new
there.
products out too.
Yeah,
I mean,
and
there's-
and this is a different scenario than health insurance. You still have you still have big people out there bidding on those, but this is a little bit better, what they tell us, than health insurance, which in our area has really zoomed down to about 4 companies. And no matter if Diamond's building it, or somebody in Terre Haute bidding it, or somebody in Kokomo, Indiana is bidding our health insurance, they're usually bidding those 4. So, I'm trying to think if there was.
Does that answer your questions, Dan?
Yes.
So I don't know if anybody else has any, I can try to find out or look at, but our big thing will probably be on that April 2nd. We'll probably have to make some determination. I'll try to get in touch with everybody and see what's at, then we have a study session, I believe it's that next Monday, is right? And that'll be the goal, we'll hope that there's questions or what we need to do, whether we're possibly accepting or rejecting or whatever.
We're not gonna be able to do it that quick, depending on what happens. You weren't here, we're having a meeting with the unions the following day to discuss insurance. we're not looking for it to necessarily be on the agenda for the regular meeting. Doesn't mean that it can't be,
What, okay, what would
The
that have to
ninth.
do with this? anyway?
because they brought up some ideas and some flexibility on how they might approach health insurance. Okay?
So is that a part of negotiations?
Yes.
Is there any way I could entertain a motion to go into closed session to discuss negotiations then? Because I guess I'm
We have a
not
lawsuit
following.
pending too, don't we?
Well, no, I'm just trying to figure that out, what that basis would have anything to do with anything.
Can I go
general.
off the record? Because I don't have a problem. Okay. Oh. Oh, we
That's
can't.
all.
Never mind.
No, no.
Never mind.
Yeah.
No, thank you. Yeah, we can entertain a motion here when we get done to go into, because
Just
it's a simple
because
answer.
Yeah, and
Okay?
also because if we're talking about negotiations, just so
That's fine.
I would know.
I
what
don't
we're
think there's a
talking about.
problem there, Gary. Do you? I mean,
No, it's negotiations, yeah.
all right. Well, I
Yeah.
mean, it's negotiations.
Yeah, close
It's a
session.
specific item. It's not
Figure 'em
a
out.
general item. Okay, anything else on
Anything
insurance?
else on the insurance part?
Okay. Well, I guess I'd entertain a motion to go into closed session for
You
the
got anything
purposes
to
of, I already did.
Okay, I must have missed it.
Well, I talked about budget.
Okay.
Closed session for negotiations only?
We have to talk about any,
What about, we have a
Pending
lawsuit pending
litigation.
too, I'm working on it. Mention that.
Well, there's no new news on it. You
Okay,
mean the
all right.
one, yeah.
Yeah,
No.
yeah, okay.
Do you have anything on that, Jeff?
I'll bring it up in this closed session.
Okay, then lawsuit.
and we'll sit.
And lawsuits. Okay?
Okay,
Is there a motion to?
I'd like to make that motion.
Is there a
I'll
second?
second.
Okay, Dan seconds. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay? Okay. Take a couple minutes. Oh. Anything else to come before the meeting now that we're back in open session? I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Mr. Bruner,
Second.
Mr. Patrick, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Nay? No, he carries. Thank you, guys.